And CNN can now project that Barack Obama is projected to be the next president of the United States of America.
Millions of supporters have been celebrating across the United States after what has been an unprecedented turnout at the polls.
Biggest night in history, of my life at least. It's huge.
But though the registration and the turnout of Black America was the bedrock, Obama prevailed because of the true rainbow coalition he built. Whatever disappointment flows, whatever hope flourishes, change has come.
He represents change, hope, progress.
Everything's changed. The world is going to be different from this day forward.
But tonight, because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
How much have we really changed? How bad is racism in America?
It is. It's getting tiring. We have a black president. We have black senators. We have black heads of captains of business companies. We have black entertainment channels. Where is there racism? I don't think there's racism. I think the only people perpetuating racism are people like this gentleman from the NAACP, are the Al Sharptons of the world. Let's move on.
We're going to have to kill some crackers.
That's right. Love it.
We're going to have to kill some cracker babies. I believe in the death and destruction of white people, each and every one of them.
You don't think that creepy ass cracker is a racial comment?
No.
You can't say that wetback that's not the truth. That's what they're called. Look it up. It's in the dictionary.
Why do you call him that?
A wetback is someone who crossed the Rio Grande swimming illegally. Their backs got wet. They came illegally. Fuck Mexico! Okay, fuck Mexico. That's my opinion.
Shut the fuck up. Do what you wanna do. Do what you wanna do. I'm gonna hit that alarm button. I said do what you wanna do. Shut up, nigger. You fucking nigga under you. Yeah. You damn nigga. White trash. White trash. White trash. Right. I'm a nigga, you're a fucking white trash. You're fucking asshole.
No, that honky stole the dollar. Get that honky back over here. Hey, you white woman.
Hate black people, but I'm not racist.
Shut the fuck up, kid. With your white ass. That's why I hate white people.
I just want the signature, you fucking nigger, please. Ma'am. And I'm not prejudiced, but right now I'm just real pissed off.
Ma'am, why are you calling me names? I mean, I'm just delivering your mail.
You're acting like a nigger. Now give me the card back.
Don't be no fucking nigger again. I swear to fucking God, I'm just fucking ass. Bitch, I know you fucking call me. Tell me why I should fucking beat your ass right fucking now. Call it nigga, do you fucking know me like that?
One nigga, one nigga. Man, who you calling goddamn nigga, man? Who you calling nigga? Huh? Who you calling nigga, man? Okay. Say something right. Say so. Yeah. Fuck you. Motherfucker. Huh? Say what? Say something. Say something again. You don't call me no nigga in my face, boy. Don't give me the right. You don't got the right to say that. Suck my dick. Suck my dick, nigga. Fucking talk about it. Suck. Suck. There you go. You in trouble now. Niggas in trouble now. What you gonna do? Alright. Don't you choose the one you want. Man, get up off the table like that, man. The one you want.
You call me the N-word? Yeah, you are nigga.
You call me the N-word?
Nigga.
My name is Sofia. I was born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Well, I am a mixed race myself, as you can see. So I decided after I graduated in school and I did 2 years of, a year and a half of history in the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, I've decided to come to the USA because I wanted to live the American dream. Like, you know, people come here to live that, their own American dream. And I love it. I fell in love with it specifically because it's you know, it's smaller than my country, and it's even richer of like races and cultures. I admired how you know, it was so rich, like mixed rich like that. And until I actually saw that in here also has, you know, a race hatred. I started to compare Brazil with United States. How it's funny that, you know, in Brazil the way it is, the racism, and in here it's much more like, in there it's hidden, and here it's much more in the open. I decided to make this documentary so I would understand better and know better the race factor in America.
So I'll ask you a few questions about the stereotypical racism.
Okay.
Do you think it's accurate there is a specific type of food that white people like?
I don't know about white people. Maybe depends on if you're like I'm Jewish. I know that Jewish people like certain foods. I mean, well, I like, you know, it's so stereotypical. I can tell you, you know, corned beef sandwiches and pastrami and, you know, bagels and lox.
White people?
Yeah.
I'm going to say fish, but I don't think that's really a thing, but I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm stereotyping it, but yeah.
Some people say that white people like mayonnaise and I think Spams or something like that. Is that?
Spam?
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
even...
Mayonnaise I've heard, but I hate mayonnaise.
See?
I hate mayonnaise.
Some people say black people like fried chicken, watermelon. Do you like fried chicken?
I love fried chicken and
watermelon.
I love watermelon.
Great.
But I would say, I don't know whether I believe that or not, but I would say that maybe I think that stereotypes evolved. I think they probably didn't evolve from nowhere. Good stereotypes, bad stereotypes. I would think that many probably have evolved from someplace. Whether they still hold true or not may be another matter.
Do you like mayo?
Mayo? Yeah,
mean, it's cool.
Do you like watermelon? Bear with me.
Yeah, watermelon's okay. If it's not sweet, it's horrible, but good watermelon is good.
Fried chicken?
Yeah, of course. All the black people I know like fried chicken, my whole family. My family is from the South, so, I mean, it's a big part of my diet, yeah.
Yeah? Do you believe there's a stereotypical food that black people like? Like, do you believe that all black people like watermelon and fried chicken?
No. Never. No.
Do you think it's accurate when people go and say black people like fried chicken and watermelon?
Oh, no, I don't think it's fair. I really don't.
What about they go white people like bolognese, mayonnaise, stuff like that?
No, I think it's just a stereotype, and putting people in a stereotype is something completely wrong. And it's like, it hurts other people when people are like, oh yeah, you're black, you like fried chicken. Oh, you're white, you like this. It's like completely judging a book by its cover.
Whenever you have a specific and then you make it general, you're in danger. So we have to just understand that stereotyping may have a truth in it for some people. But whenever you take something and generalize it out, it's ill-informed, it's ill-educated, often, too often, it's false, and very often, and most often, it's dangerous. Even the stereotypes that we say are positive. Oh, rich people are thus and such. Really? All people who work on Wall Street are thus and such. Really? Right? These are stereotypes that could be true, yes, but very dangerous. So I say, let's talk about what we're for. We want to lift the dignity of people. We don't want to stereotype and degrade and dehumanize.
Which stereotypical foods you think black people supposedly love?
Maybe like chicken? I don't know.
And why do you think you like chicken?
I don't know. I feel like it's like advertised a lot.
Yeah.
And like I think that would be like a stereotypical thing. Definitely.
So, do you like fried chicken?
I love it.
And watermelon?
Yes.
And what about mayonnaise?
Yes.
Do you think it's makes sense saying that people like specific foods because of their color?
No, I don't think so. There'll be trends when it comes to food. Like watermelon seems to be really big right now. But it seems to be like everyone's eating watermelon with like basil and cheese and weird things like that. But I feel like everybody tries this food.
Italian side of my family always made fried chicken, and whatever barbecues we had, there was watermelon, and you know, seriously. Like.
But I know what you mean, because one time I ate watermelon in front of Popeye's chicken, and like everybody just got real weird on me. So
you gotta laugh at it sometimes. It's comical.
You have to. You ain't got no choice. Okay. I want to meet the man that doesn't like fried chicken and watermelon. Yeah. Who the fuck doesn't like it? There you go. Because if you don't like it, then there's something wrong with you. That's it.
The food stereotypes are so silly. It's all about your taste. It's not about the color of your skin. But also, it's related to your culture, where you come from. It's not about the color of your skin. Obviously, people in Brazil usually do eat rice and beans. They can eat every day. I would eat it every day. I love it. But it's not because I'm a mixed race that I love eating beans and rice.
Which race do you think, would you say, that has the most sense of entitlement?
Definitely Caucasian. Definitely.
Can you expand that? No. Can you expand that?
I don't know. I mean, living in the U.S. runs by capitalism. It seems like Caucasian people are predominantly more entitled in those areas, as opposed to the minority, like lower social economic status people that can't really make it up there.
Do you think there's a race that has a bigger sense of entitlement?
Do they actually have it, or do they feel that they have it? What are you asking?
They feel like they have it.
I do think that there is a race that does that, yes.
Can you tell me which one do you think?
I don't feel comfortable saying it. I mean, I think it's kind of apparent, but I mean, I do feel like there's a race that feels like they deserve, and like they are. Granted, we all feel as though we deserve, but I feel like there's a sense of it's their way or no way.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm Jewish, and I would say Jewish people.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I feel bad saying that, but yeah.
Whites. White people have a sense of entitlement. Can I elaborate? Westward expansion, manifest destiny. I mean, and that's kind of, just continue that mentality is just, kind of just set in. And I mean, that period is over, but still, they still, white people feel, they're entitled to this country. This is, their country. They think this is theirs, even though it's not. It was stolen. And that westward expansion and manifest destiny mentality, that's just kind of, the nail in the coffin as far as, evidence for that.
White people, no offense, but yeah, like mostly like Caucasian and white people are like, I'm better than you because I was like here first, and it goes back to like back then with like slavery and all that. They're just like, I think I was here, I was better, but I just think it's completely wrong.
The race card, that person got the job because they're a person of color. No, most of the times they don't get that job because they're people of color, and the data shows that. But we can't, as white people, just can't accept that we didn't get the job. Because affirmative action, 400 years of white affirmative action is like, I was supposed to get the job. So in a colorblind society, you can say everybody has a fair shot at it. But if the person of color gets it, then it was because of race. But that's not true. Most of the times, statistically, people of color don't get the job. So if they did get the job, it must have been because they were qualified. But white people have a hard time accepting that, because it's usually the other way around.
Which race do you feel like has the most sense of entitlement?
What do you mean by entitlement?
I own this shit. I don't know.
White people, of course. Out of there's racist people in every group, in every race. But when you listen to white racist people, it's from a sense of entitlement. Like, you people are in our country. Why don't you go back home? Like, there's people in my family, the black side of my family, racist as shit, hate white people, but it comes from oppression. It comes from pain. And I hate these people because they hate me. Mm-hmm. But white people, I hate these people because they're in my vicinity. Mm-hmm. Or I blame them for whatever problems are in my country that they helped cause in the first place. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely white people have the strongest sense of entitlement of the races, I think.
What do you mean, sense of entitlement? Like, is there one race that feels more privileged than others?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. This is not anything bad, but I've ran into countless Caucasians that felt privileged, like they had the right to be somewhere or say something that no one really had the right to, speak about or something like that. So yeah, but that's just my one opinion.
I've experienced that with Indian people a lot. Pakistani people, or just like West Indians. Yeah, I've heard a lot from them.
A specific race that has the most sense of entitlement?
Ooh, I think that's a great question. I feel like it could be that white people feel entitled, but this is probably a stereotypical statement saying that we haven't had to work and fight for things. That's very generic too, though, because white women have had to fight for things. So you would often hear that the white male hasn't had too much repression. But, I don't know.
No, go for it.
I don't know any exact thoughts on that.
I think like all races kind of in a way have a really big sense of entitlement. Like, you know, like Chinese people, Indians. In here, all of the races in here have a really big sense of entitlement. I mean, and maybe that's why it's not peaceful. Maybe that's why there's a lot of still, you know, racial dispute. Me asking about slavery, do you feel somehow oppressed or uncomfortable because I'm talking about, like, saying slavery and wanting to talk about it?
I wouldn't say that I feel uncomfortable talking about it, but in terms of people kind of bringing it up as something to maybe, I don't know, hold against white people or something like that, I think that's something that we need to move forward from, because that's certainly something, you know, really horrible, really shitty that happened. But it's not necessarily the young people of today that made that happen. So it's important that we know about it and learn from it so we don't repeat the same mistakes. But I don't think that's something that we can keep hating each other over. Yeah.
How do you feel when people approach you wanting to talk about slavery?
It is kind of a touchy subject because sometimes black people want to use that as an excuse for certain things or for their situations, why they act a certain way. And it's a terrible thing that happened. It's something that can never be ignored or forgotten. But it's just as at this point, I don't know anymore really what to say regarding that, because everything we know, we've learned, everything's been said already. So I don't know how to have a conversation with somebody regarding that, because it is what it is.
It happened, and it's a past that nobody can deny. But I have to agree with you that it doesn't. I mean, nowadays everything has been said already. Do you think it's true that white people hate hearing about slavery? Or like, yeah.
Yeah, again, I feel like generalizing a certain group of people because of their skin pigment, white in this sense, it's not fair. There might be, I feel like even, I feel like I'm pretty sure even to this day you can find somebody who's black descent who doesn't want to hear about slavery versus white people who don't want to hear about, like, when Hitler was around. I feel like, again, it's all bias. It's about your perception.
When you see 12 Years a Slave and you see the violence perpetrated on those Africans who were enslaved, and you understand that the capacity to perpetrate violence was unbelievable, and that's in white genes, that's in white culture, that's in white mentality. And to have that internalized capacity to be so dehumanized, then when I see the police pounding and pounding, I see 12 Years a Slave, that same dehumanization, right?
Do you think it's true that people get uncomfortable to talk about slavery?
I don't know about slavery. I think people can, I don't find that people have any trouble talking about slavery. But I think racism and race, I think it's funny that sometimes you hear conversations between people and, they say, oh, look over there, there's some black people. or even though regardless of how they feel about them, it's something that for some reason they'll whisper the word, or it's, again, no matter, regardless of how they might feel, there must be something. They feel that they might be perceived as being racist, even if they're not.
I think people should know that, like, slavery was bad. Like, I read a book about, like, slavery and how it was done. How they describe it is, like, completely horrible. I definitely feel for the people who lived back then.
Is it true that white people are uncomfortable
and don't like hearing about slavery, and why?
That's the same generalization to say that all black people do this and Y and Z. To say that all white people are uncomfortable with the conversation is another, like, you're pigeonholing a race or a group. So, no, I don't think all white people are like that. No, not at all.
Over 300 years of slavery obviously left a very deep institutional, deep-seated racism. And I think with time things are changing, obviously, because from my dad to me, things are developing, but it's still very slow.
Some people say that is it that it's accurate that the most serial killers are white?
Maybe, but just that's only stats. I mean, everybody can be a killer, everybody can be a healer. It's just the way you are. If everybody understands like the values and like the codes of society, everybody's going to live in peace and harmony between each other. If not, I mean, yes, white people and European people have killed more people than any other black people ever. That's the thing.
A better question is, who do the media promote commits the most crimes? Sure, you have African Americans, Latinos who commit murders, robberies, all types of crimes. But there are crimes that go unheard of. Let's say, a couple of years ago we had the stock market crash. Who was penalized for that? No one. Enron, who was penalized for that? No one. So, in the urban community, we may have committed, they commit a lot of crimes. But on the higher end, this crime's being done that's go unheard of and unspoken about every day.
Which race do you think he commits the most crimes and why?
I mean, it's hard to answer that. It's based off of what? Like, off of crime statistics, obviously you would say black people commit the most crimes because the most people in jail. That is something like 50% of the prison population or more, even though we're, 10% of the total population of America, something like that. So, I mean, it's hard to tell. I don't know if it's based off of discrimination or if these are the actual crime statistics. I mean, I see crime being committed by my peers. Yeah. So, it's hard to tell, really. Yeah. I'd have to have access to more, like, I'd have to be an official in the office or something to know.
Do you think there's a specific race that commits most crimes?
That commits most crimes? If I had to choose one, it would be black people. Yeah.
Okay. Why?
And the reason I would say that is because we're blacks and Latinos. We're the ones that are primarily in these inner cities, which are already bad in themselves. We're the number one culprits of committing crimes against each other. Mm-hmm. And if you just look at statistics, the jails, 80% or 70%, whatever it is, are minorities. Oh. So that's why.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think it's accurate that most serial killers are white?
Serial killers? Oh, I suppose so. Yeah. No, I don't know. I really don't know the statistics on serial killers.
And that most gangs are from minorities?
Actually, I was talking with my roommate about that the other day, and she felt like it was a valid statistic, but I didn't really think so.
Why?
Because I feel like that crime can happen from anyone in lower class, but I don't feel like minorities always fall in lower class. Mm-hmm. I think it's based on education.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Just because you are poor does not mean that you will commit crimes. That is not true. Right? So we want to link poverty with crime, we want to link race with poverty, and that's how we get the stereotype. there are many, 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 many poor and noble families. In fact, this country was built on the sweat and backs of poor, black, noble families. And that to think and to say that poverty drives crime is outrageous.
Do I believe most serial killers are white? They're the ones most publicized.
Yeah, right.
But that can't be wrong, because look at all the black on black crime that happens, right? And if, you know, you got like Tyrone Jenkins catching like 10 bodies, you know, what does that make him? He's a serial killer too. Now,
That's
if you're
true.
talking about the oddities of the murders, you know, then it's something different. If you're talking about somebody that likes to like kidnap women and rip off their skin and everything else, and he just happened to be white, it kind of wouldn't surprise me. But that's the way the media portrays things. You know, it's fucked up, but it's true.
I think that's another problem with this culture, with our American culture. We believe a lot of the lies that the media portrays, and whatever's painted on TV, we kind of take that in and make it a truth, which sets up more discord and separation between everybody.
Absolutely, yes. People think that just because what's on TV is automatically true. If it's on the news, it's true. It's ridiculous how society thinks that the news is absolutely correct about everything.
Majority that I've read about mass murderers, you know, from serial killers and mass murderers have been white. That was the majority I've seen. From the Jeffrey Dahmers to your John Wayne Gacy's and, you know, guys like that. You know, some of the most, you know, brutal, you know, things you could think of. You know, I've just seen mostly predominantly white. You know, that's not like being racist or anything. That's just from what I've seen.
First gang in the United States was the Ku Klux Klan.
I'm so happy you said that.
They are not a minority.
Yeah, they're not a minority.
So,
in the crime scene, the dark complexion skinned are the most persecuted. It's always about an N word, you know, like then it comes the N word. It's it's that. I hear that a lot. I hear that all the time. I've heard also like there's this in the statistics, white people are usually the serial killers and stuff like that. They're usually white, but I don't believe it's like a race thing, obviously. But in the media, black people are very attacked. Like it's you know, it's absurd. It's funny because it's like it's not the color that defined him to do the crime. It's the circumstances. It's the person itself. It's, you know, it's not its race. So, yeah.
How do you feel about the N word?
It makes me feel really awkward because we don't use that word in Australia. It doesn't really apply.
Have you ever said this word?
No. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Like in any context? Like
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I haven't. Just, yeah, I don't really feel like I have the right to say it.
Do you use an N-word?
In certain contexts, yeah. When I'm around my friends, when it's friendly, of course.
Nigga versus nigger.
Yeah.
Nigga. Nigger.
There's different.
Two difference. In the African American community or the urban community, they might use the word nigga as a sense of endearment, talking to someone, a boy, their friend, someone close to them. The term nigger is a derogatory term that will affect anyone at any moment. That term should affect everyone as soon as it's heard.
Have you ever said it?
We live in Uruguay. We say that N-word every time.
Every time.
It has not the same value for you that it has for us, maybe. I mean, he told me negrito. I'm his son. It's okay, but that's the thing. That we don't want to damage anyone. We don't say that. But maybe we don't understand like the hate. I mean, the hate of that word to other people. But
Then
we don't.
here they do.
Yeah, then here they do. So we didn't say the N word.
Yeah. So you wouldn't say it here for sure.
We wouldn't say it here.
The N word. How do you feel about it? Like people usually have problems because they think it's just just black people can say nigger or well, what do you think?
I don't think I like to hear it in general. I don't know how it would feel having someone else say it and feel comfortable with it, but I don't think hearing it has any good connotations. I don't know.
Do you think the word carries hatred on it, or do you think it depends the way you say it?
You would think it'd be the way you say it that would carry the hatred, but hearing it in general in any context would sound negative to me.
Even in a rap song?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think so.
I will speak only as a white person about white people using that word, okay? It's all internalized racism. All of it is internalized racism, right? Whenever that word is used, white people are lifted. There's no downside for white people. Right? That's all I can say, is that whenever that word is lifted, if a white person says it, it brings people of color down. If it's in this space, white keeps lifting.
Absolutely. Have I ever used the N-word? In what context? I use it as a term of endearment, even though it's technically not. I use it in the profane. I will say nigger. I will call. I've just a few minutes ago I called somebody a nigger. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's a part of my vernacular. Unfortunately, it's ingrained in my psyche, and it's really hard to stop. It's really difficult to stop using it. No matter how many documentaries I've watched on the word and how many despite how much I know about the word, I still continue to use it. It's just part of the culture, I guess. I hate to say.
We live in America. You can say it, whether I like it or not. That's it. We can say it. Do I like it when it's said by someone with a lot of malice? No, of course not.
And it's been done to him. It's been said to him before.
But and it's just a bad and ugly word anyway that we shouldn't embrace. But we live in 2014. What are you gonna do?
I'm not gonna lie though. There was times where I was around, honestly, black people, and I've used it, and I kind of looked at like, bitch, like, what you just say? I'm like, never mind. Like, I didn't mean it that way, right?
If someone who I don't know is going, hey nigga, I'm gonna feel uncomfortable. I'm gonna feel put off by it.
I hear Latinos say it. I hear Middle Eastern people say it. I hear Asian people say it. So it's not like a word that brings fear. It's a word that brings some type of respect and endearment. Sad to say, but that's where our society has gone.
I suppose I think that, if I was a black person, I really wouldn't like other people sort of using that word. But I guess, although it's a word that obviously has a lot of power behind it because of the history to the word, I think with any language that we use, if there's a malicious intent with the use of the word, then that's the part that really matters.
The N-word is is considered very offensive here, and especially for its background, because it comes from the slavery times, and it has its own weight. In the overall, what matters is, the intention of the word. But unfortunately, it's something that is still, people still use it with a lot of hate. And even, I have friends here that say it all the time. And, even it's funny because throughout this process of doing the documentary, I found myself being really, observative about it and trying to see and see what's behind what people are saying when they're saying it. And I surprised myself because I had friends, dear friends that say sometimes this word, the N-word, and it's just not nice,
I had this one incident where I was walking down the street with a friend, and this black male came up to me and spit in my face and told me, "You fucking spick, get out of here." And at that moment, at the given moment, I was distraught, and it hurt me. It's not that I let it affect my whole being, but at that moment, I had never been a victim of that. And I hadn't been on that side. Most people, you hear encounters of like, towards black people. I had never been a victim personally of it. When that happened, I feel like it opened my eyes more towards how people see you, how they perceive you, how they choose to perceive you.
I never had anything to where it was like I was in a place and a white person said, "Get your black ass out of here." I think, our ancestors paved the way so we don't have to deal with that to that extent. But I never been, in a situation like that.
When I was 17 and I was coming from Yonkers, and my friend and I were leaving the movie theaters, a group of white males in an automobile, they drove past and said, "Get out of the movie theaters, you niggas." So, that I was like kind of traumatized after that. For a couple of weeks, I went to my dad. I told my mom. I was like, "Yo, they just called me this," and I had I talked about it for a while. Like I really couldn't get over it, like that happened to me. Especially in this in this time, like a few years ago. It's like 10 years ago. So that definitely that stuck with me, and that made me realize and do research as to into racism and read about racism, like from that moment, and I kind of, just became more conscious of it, try to stay conscious of it.
At this point, you could say racism will never disappear, because as we progress as a people, as a society, there are those groups like the Aryan Brotherhood, like the Ku Klux Klan, that they're raising their kids to be this way. They're teaching them from when they're infants to hate the color skin of another person. So it's going to be hard to completely eradicate it from our minds and from society.
I think we should come to a room and get together and just have this reunion where it's just we're the same people. We all have the same things regardless of our color skin, regardless of where we come from, regardless of our hair. We're all one person. We're the same thing, the same body types. It's just we're one. There's no point of having discrimination of other people.
I don't think that there's ever going to be a time where there's not going to be any form of racism.
I kind of feel the same way, but then I kind of don't, because people probably told Martin Luther King that years ago, and look at us now, we have segregated schools and stuff. So I feel like it will be changed. I co-sign with what my sister said, just be more sympathetic. I kind of feel like the melting pot won't be fully melted until us, meaning African American, we need to stick together first.
Right, exactly.
And until we figure out that, then it's really not going to be whatever, but it's slowly coming around.
There's no way that racism will ever end, because humans, we just have this sort of pack mentality. You have to be around people that are comfortable. So,
like your tribe.
Exactly, like a tribe, a tribal thing. You're with your family, you all, believe in the same religion, you all eat the same food. So you're comfortable.
How can we improve our race relations?
Usually racism is a spawn of ignorance. When people don't know things, they tend to make assumptions, and so they work off fear and lies, so they don't get the opportunity to get to know someone. So an open conversation where these questions can be asked will break down a lot of barriers. So like that, yeah.
There is such an incredible possibility that media could really turn this around. If we could organize media the way we're organizing social workers and bring an anti-racist lens, so the way they spoke when they're reporting wasn't biased, and the way they portrayed people wasn't biased. If we had the resources to mobilize an anti-racist media campaign for media equity, I think it could make a big difference.
If you take children and you put them in the room, yeah, they'll play with each other, but they're always going to find something to pick on the other person about. And skin color is the easiest thing. So it's never going to wash away. Never. It's our nature.
Do you think there's a way that we can improve race relations?
I think that it's something that will happen, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think it's such a slow process. I think if you look back in time, you can see that things have probably improved to some extent. But I think that racism is going to exist for a long, long time. and will only very, very slowly, hopefully, begin to disappear.
Just remember, we're human. We have the same organs, heart, eyes. You know, it's just a color. We're still the same people, the same emotion, go through the same thing. So just people.
Yep. Now, when I'm looking for people, I found it more difficult to get white people to talk to me about when I say the word racism. They were like, no. And for some reason, mixed and black people said more yes than white people. Why do you think? Do you think it's maybe me, or can I give? I genuinely want to know your opinion. I never asked that to anyone.
I mean, I like the same. It's hard for people to tell how they feel about something that they are not fighting against, but that is actually there. So because talking won't change things. You know, it needs to be related with the things you're doing. Yeah. So if that doesn't go with what you do, I think it's better for people not to talk, and I kind of support it.
Thanks. I feel really lucky. It's not every day that you have a chance to make a difference in the world, and that's how I feel. I feel like I have my purpose in life. You know, part of what I been building myself to is to make a difference in the world. I always wanted to reach out to people. You know, I just always wanted to. And this documentary, I mean, it made me learn so much, and it clarified so much. And I know it's something that many people are gonna be grateful for, and I think it's just amazing because, you know, it's gonna make a difference. It doesn't matter how big it is or how small it's gonna be, but you know, what matters is that it's out there. It's gonna be out there. I hope this documentary makes people realize how we would benefit so much more from each other in Brazil and here in America especially, if we all embraced our differences, and that it was history that brought us together. It was life that made us all be mixed together in the same place. And if we can make the most of it instead of being judgmental about it, it would be wonderful. Do I believe if the next generation is going to experience worse racism than our generation?
I'm just from Brooklyn, New York. The Brooklyn Center, man. I mean, I got the big old lips.
You gotta go get my fucking KKK. Nigga, that's why you get abused the whole life. I hate the fucking KKK.
I hate niggers, sticks, Jews, and towelheads.
And we
so what?
are
I'm
Nazis.
White power.
What you doing, nigga? What you doing, nigga? What you doing, nigga? I don't like a nigger. Fucking Jew, bitch. He's black, he's a nigger. He's a nigger. I hate niggers. I expect fuck you.
You don't like white people? You only five?
All these fucking
you
don't like white fucking people.
So you racist?
No, fuck them not. Fuck them not, boy.
You racist if you don't like white people then?
I don't give a fuck.
They hate white people.
I hate motherfuckers.